Greetings, guitar engineers. I'm Desi Cerna, and in this free guitar lesson, I'm going to show you a portion of the instrumental track Eruption by Van Halen. I'm going to show you how the finger tapping works. I'm going to show you how the tapping is based on arpeggios, and I'm going to show you how those arpeggios create a chord progression that features modal interchange and harmonic minor. To get my sound for this song, I'm using the bridge humbucker on my guitar and a vintage Marshall amp with quite a bit of gain on it. Then I'm adding reverb, delay, and phaser. The original recording was recorded with guitars tuned down a half step to E flat. I'm in standard tuning, so my version here is going to sound a half step higher than the original recording. The finger tapping part that I'm going to teach begins at about the 57-second mark in the track. All right, let's dive in. Let me play a little bit of what we're going to learn. I'm going to stop right there. So all of the notes that I'm playing are on the second string. I start by tapping at the 9th fret with the index finger of my picking hand, although you could use your middle finger too. Some people like to do that. And then I'm fretting the 2nd fret and the 5th fret here with my fretting hand fingers, and you could use your index and pinky finger or your index and ring finger. I'm tapping at the 9th fret first. Then I pull that finger off to sound the 2nd fret. Then I hammer into the 5th fret, and then I repeat that. When you pull your tapping finger away, you can either pull it toward you, which is the way I believe Eddie Van Halen played it, or you could flick it away from you, which seems to be what I prefer to do. Now, you need to be real careful about controlling unwanted string noise on the unused strings, so you're probably going to need to use a portion of your picking hand to keep the strings quiet. And also on your fretting hand, as you fret those notes on the 2nd string, place your fingers down so that you lightly touch the 1st string and the 3rd string, so that will keep the strings immediately around the 2nd string quiet. All right, so you're playing a sextuplet rhythm here. That means you're playing 6 times for each beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could think of it as twice through those 3 notes. You could think 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's on every beat. So if your beat is 1, 2, 3, 4, you play 1, 2, 3, 4. You actually go through the tapping of those notes twice per beat. That's how that works. All right, so we start here with C sharp, E, and this is a G sharp here. And for the next part, you're going to raise your tapping finger to the 10th fret. Your fretting fingers stay put, and you do the same thing. So if I back up. So that's a measure of each. And I'm going to come back here and talk about the arpeggios and how this is based on a chord progression in a minute. But let's keep going. Once you're comfortable with that, the next, you left off with your index at the 10th fret on A. The next thing you're going to do is raise your fretting fingers a whole step, and your index finger stays put. So you have, and you're going to play almost a full measure of this, but on the last beat, you're actually going to tap from the 12th fret. You'll tap there twice. So it's, again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And let me back up, and you want to review this from the beginning every time you learn a new part. So we start here. I'm going to call off the frets. I'm going to call them from low to high but remember that you actually tap the highest first. So from low to high, it's fret 2, 5, 9, then 2, 5, 10, then 4, 7, 10, then 4, 7, 12. For just one beat, you end up tapping twice. All right, let me back up a little bit. It's kind of hard to stop in the middle of this. Next, you're going to tap 5, 9, 12. 5, 9, 12. And that's a big stretch right there. 5 to 9. You probably want to, I don't know what you want to do. Actually, what you should do is probably hold your guitar more up in this position. When you watch Eddie Van Halen play this live, he used a strap and he would bring that headstock up so he could more easily stretch his fingers. He didn't really have super long fingers or anything. I'm trying to keep my guitar neck nice and straight here in the video, so I'm having a little trouble. This is not the best position. But that's 5, 9, 12. Might want to use index, fourth finger. You might be able to get your ring finger up there. I guess I could. But pinky would probably be better. And I want to stop right there and go back to the beginning and review. I'll play it, and then you can repeat it after me. So it's... adding an extra tap there just so I have a note to finish on. All right, you can pause this video and take some time to rehearse that and memorize it. And then when you're ready to move on, before I add more, I actually want to explain what's going on here and how this is based on arpeggios and a chord progression, because it's very cool. And I'm a music theory guy, so that's what I do. So let's go back to the beginning here. We're using the notes C sharp, E, and G sharp, and you could actually play those three notes on separate strings like this, C sharp, E, and G sharp, and they actually make a C sharp minor chord. You could think of them as coming right out of this standard bar chord shape. So when you tap these notes, you're basically just making a C sharp minor chord. That's the sound you're making. All right, next, when you raise your index finger to the 10th fret, you have C sharp, E, and now you have an A in there. Well, you could play those notes too. Here they are. C sharp, E, A. That makes an A chord. It comes right out of this standard bar chord shape. So as you go from fret 9 to fret 10 here, you're actually creating the sound of C sharp minor to A major. All right, so next your index finger stays put, your fretting hand moves up a whole step. Now you have the notes D sharp, F sharp, and A, and they actually make, can't really play these all together, but I want to play them like this because they come right out of a B7 chord. If you're familiar with that B7 fingering, and you're using the third, D sharp, the fifth, F sharp, and the flat 7th A. So that's the sound you're making there. And then finally, when you go up and tap at frets 5, 9, and 12, you're playing E, G sharp, and B, which make an E major chord, and you can play them together right here. And they're straight out of this bar chord like this. So if we take a look at the actual chords that we're using here, it's C sharp minor, A major, B7, and remember at the end of that B7 measure, you raise this A to B. Well, B is still part of the B7 chord, and then you went to E. C sharp minor, A, B7, E. These chords are straight out of the E major scale. They are 6, 4, 5, 1. So you can see that these tapped notes, they're not scales necessarily, they're not just random notes, they're actually arpeggios, and they are based on chords, and the chords are based on a progression. So this song is rich in harmony. All right, let's move on. So we left off with E. The next part sounds like this. So going back to E at frets 5, 9, and 12, you're going to raise your tapping finger 1 fret, and then whatever finger you're using to hammer on down here is going to go down 1 fret. So now you're playing 5, 8, 13. Then from here, you go up a whole step, both hands, and do the same thing. And then you go up a whole step again, both hands. Let's take a look at the notes that we're using here. So this new section begins at 5, 8, and 13. So that's an E, a G, and a C. That makes a C chord. Here they are on different strings. Comes right out of a C bar chord like that. And then as you raise this up in whole steps, you're just raising this chord shape here up in whole steps, and you have C, D, E. All major chords going up in whole steps. All right, so we were in the E major scale. If you remember, the first arpeggios were C sharp minor, A, E7, and E, which was 6, 4, 5, 1. But now we played C, D, E. And this is a type of modal interchange. These chords are actually borrowed from the parallel scale of E minor. And in music theory, we would think of the C as a flat 6 chord, the D as a flat 7 chord, and then E is 1. So in both cases, the end goal was E, and then and that flat 6, flat 7, 1 modal interchange there is sometimes called the Mario cadence because it's featured a lot in the music to the Super Mario Brothers video game. All right, if you would like, you can review everything from the beginning. I'll go through it once just so you can see how you can piece it together, and you can pause this video and practice it on your own. So here we go. I think I would probably be more comfortable playing this if I was using a strap. I'm having a hard time holding my hands in this position and shifting while at the same time trying to keep the guitar still with my elbow here. So I think I could more easily do this if I actually stood up and played a strap. So you could try that. All right, after you review that part, here is what comes next. All right, let's take a look at this. So this begins by tapping using frets 12, 15, and 17. So tap at 17, pull off your tap finger to 12, hammer onto 15. All right, these notes are B, D, and E, and they're actually out of an E7 chord. Just think of them like, there's your E, that's the 5th of the E chord, D is your flat 7, and E, of course, is your root. So think about this dominant 7th chord shape. And then from here, your fretting hand actually goes down in half steps like this. And you're going to do one sextuplet, which is 2 times through the notes, and then you go down in half steps after each sextuplet. So it's All right, so once again, that's... And you actually do that twice. All right, so what's going on here? Is this in a scale? Is this a chord progression? This is actually based on a chromatic descending blues turnaround. If you're familiar with this sort of sound in the blues. So think about an E chord or E7, where you take the flat seventh, in this case D, and you go down in half steps to the fifth. Or you could take the fifth B, I'm going to play it up here, third string, fourth fret, and you go down to half steps until you reach the major third. And then you can put those together, the flat seventh and the fifth, and just move that shape down. So you start with the seventh and fifth, then you end with the fifth and major third. Here it is an octave higher. There's that E chord. And that's essentially what you're doing when you play this part. Because you have the fifth and the seventh, and you're going down a half step, then you end with the major third, fifth. So that's how that part works. So you can see we have a lot of different elements. We started in major. We had that modal interchange where we borrowed chords from the parallel minor. Now we've got some blues chromatic movement. And then this is followed by some whole step movement where you play the very same thing, a whole step lower on a D7, and then you're going to do it again on a C7. So think about your E7 like this. Think about where your pinky would be on the second string when you play your dominant seventh chord. That's kind of use that as your guide to get in position for this part, although you're probably going to use your ring finger like I do. So that's where you're going to start on the E7. And you go back, all right? So next we want to do the same thing on D7 here at the 10th fret. So think about where that flat seventh is. I'm going to use my ring finger, and then you're going to tap on the root D here at the 15th fret. And again, you're going to go backward chromatically. And then here's C7. Think about the chord tone, the flat seventh here. Tap C now at the 13th fret on the second string. Now you do this chromatic movement twice on the E chord, and then just once on the D chord and once on the C chord. So from the E chord. And then from here, I want to get in position for that D, and then I got to also look at my tapping finger and go to D here. And I do that just once, and then I got to get in position for C. This is the most difficult part for me because I have such a hard time figuring out how to get into position. So I'm explaining how I'm visualizing these chord shapes, and what I'm also doing is when I finish one, I know that this hand goes up a half step and this hand goes down a whole step. Up a half step, down a whole step. But it's difficult to do. Here it is slowly. So you're using that blues turnaround movement, and then just going down in whole steps with chords. So it's like... Already be a good idea to review all of this from the beginning. I'll do it really quick. Whoops. Oh, I forgot to tell you that when you get up to this E, you tap a full measure plus 2 more beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, I'm a little sloppy with this because this is not a song I typically play. I typically don't use this technique, but it is fun to learn, and it's really interesting to see the music theory of it as well. I hope you're enjoying that. Okay, next, let's move on. Here is what follows. Something like that. All right, so now I am fretting fret 4, 7, and 12. Of course, you start with the tap, so it's... And then you do that for a full measure, and then your fretting fingers move up, but your index finger stays put. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to stop right there. Let's take a look at the notes that we're using here. You've got D sharp, F sharp, and B. That makes a B major chord. Here they are, coming out of that chord shape. So that's B. And then when you raise your fretting fingers, now you have E, G, and B, which form an E minor chord coming out of this chord shape. So this section is actually the chords B7 or B major or B7, whatever, to E minor. And this is out of the B harmonic minor scale, if you are familiar with this. By the way, I'm making this lesson in part for my fretboard theory students. If a lot of this music theory stuff is going over your head, you can take a look at my theory course. Okay, so we've got B major, E minor, B major, and then you go back and forth between the B major and E minor rapidly. But let me back up. So it's... Then it's... What's happening there? So you're going to do just one time through the notes and move back and forth, shift back and forth for each one. So, and it's a little tricky, and you do that for 2 full measures. So you've got B, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I end here at E. So you're actually doing, that's one beat. So, that's one beat, and then you do it again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And then I tap, pull off to E, and that's where I resolve. I think that's what I do. I think that's what happens in the song. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, there's other stuff in the song that I'm not covering. But that completes all of the finger tap section to Eruption. All right, now I want to go back and review everything, just playing the chords, because I want to focus on what's happening musically. So you start with C sharp minor, A, B7, E, then C, D, E, extra 2 beats, then you have that blues thing. Down to D7, down to C7, then B to E minor, and I'm going to slow down a little bit here. B, because the next part is super difficult to play that E minor to B chord change any faster than that. All right, so analyzing this from a music theory perspective, we had E major, then we had modal interchange, where you had borrowed chords from the parallel scale of E minor, which led up to E major using that so-called Mario cadence. From there, you had some of that descending chromatic blues turnaround movement, and you did that over an E7, then you went down a whole step to D7, and then a whole step down to C7, which then perfectly led you into B major to E minor, which is E harmonic minor, and you went back and forth between those two chords. So you can see there's a lot of elements from this, and don't forget that Eddie Van Halen took piano lessons and was considered to be a child prodigy when he was younger, and he would have gotten exposed to a lot of classical music, including a lot of the elements that you see here in Eruption. In fact, this is a brilliant composition, and Van Halen performed it in a very innovative fashion by using this tapping technique, which had never really been used to this extent before. When this song came out, it was groundbreaking, it was a game changer, and it blew everyone's minds, and that's why Eddie Van Halen is a legend. Well, this concludes my free lesson. Would you like to learn more about music theory so you can understand how songs like Eruption work? Or do you need help getting your more basic playing skills in order? Go to my website, guitarmusictheory.com, answer the questions I ask you about your playing, and I'll send you free custom video instruction calibrated to your current level. I'll show you how to get your playing skills in order and understand everything that you play, whether you're a beginner or advanced guitar player. Go to guitarmusictheory.com. You can click on the link in the video description. Well, thanks for watching. I'm Desi Cerna. If you found this video interesting, would you click like and leave me some positive feedback? And if you have any questions, post them in the comments below and I'll respond. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the notification bell to receive alerts when new videos are uploaded. Then, keep playing and stay tuned for more.